my channel. I hope you're all having a fabulous day so far. I'm so excited to be bringing you today's video because it is part 2 in my breastfeeding series that I am now doing on my channel. I've had a lot of requests for this video, and last time I had somebody tell me that the requests were only because people wanted to see my boobs. So if you're watching this video to see my boobs, spoiler alert, you're not going to. I figured a bunch of pregnant women probably don't care to see my boobs anyways, but just had to throw that awkward little tidbit in there. But like I was saying, I've had a lot of requests to do this video on pumping because it's kind of like an area of unknown until you're actually doing it. So in today's video, I'm going to be covering all... As usual, I have my baby right next to me. He's in his crib right here, so you may hear him squealing and talking a little bit. He may even make a cameo on my lap. We'll see. So in today's video, we're going to cover my pumping routine, what pump I use, as well as best pumping practices, some tips for boosting your milk supply, when to pump, how to store milk, how to thaw milk, some accessories I use and things that have really helped me out, and everything like that. So I've taken a lot of the questions that you guys have given me, and I've kind of used those to form the content in today's video. Before we jump in, I just want to say if you're new here, welcome. My name's Olivia. I'm so excited to have you. I really appreciate you stopping by. I have part 1 of this video linked down below if you'd like to check that out. That is all about just like breastfeeding basics, how milk works, how, you know, latching, positioning, all that good stuff. So that video will be down below if you'd like to see that. And without further ado, let's just get into the pumping video. So the first thing I wanted to mention was what pump I use. I had a lot of people ask me this, so I figured I would mention it first. I use the Ameda Finesse, I think that's how you're pronouncing it, Ameda Finesse pump. This is what kind of the basics of it look like. But the reason why I wanted that pump was because it actually came with this little tote bag as well that had all these accessories as a part of it. So with this little package, I got the pump itself, which has a plug so you can plug it into the wall, or you can insert batteries into the back so you can use it cordless too. Then it came with the pumps themselves. It came with 2 different sizes of the flanges, I think that's what they're called, that actually hook to your breast. Then it came with this tote bag to carry everything in. So much stuff over here. And it also came with a cooler with extra bottles for storage and carrying them with you and everything like that. So to be honest, I did not do my research with pumps that much. I kind of looked up reviews and I looked into it a little bit, but I just kind of picked the pump that looked like I was getting the most bang for my buck. Your insurance, if you have insurance, your insurance company will probably cover a breast pump for you. That's what mine did. But I would highly recommend checking with your company to see how much of the breast pump your insurance company covers. Because I was under the impression that my insurance just covered like one breast pump to entirety. So I, of course, picked the breast pump that came with the most stuff because I was like, well, I'm getting it for free. I might as well get the one that comes with all this cool stuff. Turns out that's not the case. My insurance company only covered part of it, and now I'm stuck with the bill for the other half. So, you know, lesson learned there. I do love this pump, so I don't regret getting it, but just definitely a piece of advice is to check with your insurance company to see how much of it they will cover. Now, I know Medela breast pumps are kind of the favorite out there. I will say the one thing I don't love about this pump is that the pieces are not able to be found at like Target and places like that. So if I need an additional piece to this, for example, there's a little filter in here. I lost one, so I needed to order new ones. I had to order them on Amazon, but I can find them on Prime, so it's not the biggest deal to me. As far as this pump goes, I really like that you can adjust the speed and the suction for this pump. You can also take one of these tubes out, so you can either use both or you can do just one side. But adjusting the speed and suction has really helped me find what feels comfortable for me when it comes to pumping. Additionally, this pump also has these little inserts that you can hook to the bottom of the flange. So if I wasn't pumping directly into a bottle, I could pump into this, and then it makes these breast milk storage bags that hook onto these little sides, and that way you're pumping directly into the storage bags. So I like that a lot too. I used those for a while, but that kind of added up to be constantly replacing the storage bags on Amazon. They weren't quite as cheap as the other kind I used, but I do like the versatility. I like that I can do that. But I'm pretty sure these would fit on any pump too. These flanges will also screw into your regular like Dr. Brown's bottles and things like that if I wanted to pump into a bigger bottle, but I just used the little Ameda bottles that came with it. So then the next question I get a lot is, how do I store my milk? So I found these little storage containers on Amazon. I'll have them linked down below for you. And I have these lined up in my freezer. Now, I mentioned in my first breastfeeding video that milk will stay fresh depending on how you store it. A general guideline is that breast milk will stay fresh in room temperature for a few hours, in the refrigerator for a few days, and in the freezer for a few months. Now, that's very general. My breast pump actually came with a guideline with more specifics, but off the top of my head, that's kind of the guideline to use. So I tend to just pump and put my milk directly in the freezer because I'm tending to pump during times when he's not going to need the milk immediately, and I'll talk more about that in a second. But when I'm putting my milk in the freezer, I use these little holders to keep the bags organized. I also always freeze the bags flat. Milk expands when it's frozen, so if I lay the bag down to freeze flat, it's gonna take up the least amount of space once it's in my little container. Then when I put it in my container, I organize it by date because you wanna be pulling from the furthest date out so that you're keeping your milk fresh. You don't wanna freeze your milk and then use the freshest milk first, because then the older milk that you have in the freezer is gonna go bad or, you know, be wasted or things like that. We don't wanna do that. So I always organize with the oldest date up at the front, and I'll put a fresh bag in the back of my little container. I also found that Converse shoe boxes are like a great size for storing breast milk. You guys saw in my recent favorites video that I got those Shoreline sneakers that I love, and I used the box after I got those sneakers. I used the box to store breast milk bags in my freezer. It's just a great overall size. It fits a ton of bags in it, and it doesn't take up a lot of room in there as well. My favorite storage bags, aside from those ones that you can pump milk directly into, my favorite bags are just these breast milk storage bags from Lassino. You can get a big box like this at Target. As you can tell, mine is pretty broken up because I dip into it quite a bit. Yeah, it comes with a ton of them. They're really affordable, and then you can write the date, the volume, a name if you need it. Say you're taking these bags to milk or daycare or something, you can write your child's name on it, and then the time as well. They say that milk during the morning has more nutrients in it supposedly, so just in case you wanted to pull from the morning, I don't tend to write the time on it. I just write the date and the volume, how many ounces are in here. And just to give you an idea, when I'm pumping, I can pump anywhere from 2 to 6 ounces at a time, depending on how full my breasts are or how long it's been since I fed him, things like that. Usually I pump around 3 or 4 ounces. Then I also get a lot of questions about how I thaw the milk. So once it's in the freezer and when I'm pulling from the freezer to use it, I will typically thaw it just by running it under hot water or filling up like a cereal bowl with hot water and letting the milk bag sit there. That will thaw it really easily. It's a super cheap and convenient way to thaw your milk. You don't have to do anything fancy with it. Hot water will thaw it really easily, and it will get it to a temperature that's comfortable for your baby. But if you need something a little quicker, if you're in a pinch, I did purchase one of these bottle warmers. This is just by the Avent brand. I'll have it linked down below. It's pretty affordable. It's pretty basic. These are not necessary, I would say, but this does come in handy a lot of times for us if he's like really hungry or we're about to go out the door or like we need it heated up really quickly. This will thaw quicker than hot water for us. The thing with this particular bottle warmer is that it doesn't have a timer on it. Now, this was like 30 bucks. You could pay more to get a warmer that does have a timer and that's a little fancier. We just wanted a really basic standard one for when we're in a pinch. So this does not have a timer. It does have different settings, so you can either like thaw it out over time, you can keep it warm for a while if you need to just like kind of, you know, keep it moderately heated up for a longer amount of time. You can thaw a small bottle, you can thaw a big bottle, or just a bag. You can set it to those settings, but it does not have a timer. So what that means is that it's not gonna turn off automatically when the milk is completely warmed up. The reason why that's an issue is because the milk could easily get overheated in here, and then it could burn your baby if you don't test it. That's the same reason why you don't wanna thaw your milk in the microwave, because it can easily overheat the milk, which isn't safe for the baby. So I'll use this in a pinch, but I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll be monitoring the milk as it's thawing and warming up. And then to test the milk to make sure it's a comfortable temperature for your baby, you can take your bottle and just squeeze a little bit on the inside of your wrist. And if it feels warm enough there and not too hot, then it's probably good for your baby. Somebody needed to be on my lap a little bit, so I told you he might make a cameo in this video. We've got our matching navy blue on today too. But you can take the bottle and squeeze a little bit onto your wrist, and if it feels comfortable there, then it's probably comfortable for your baby. If it feels too hot to your inner wrist, then you want to give it some time to cool off, and if it's cold, then maybe you want to warm it up a little bit. But the skin on your inner wrist is going to be more sensitive than elsewhere on your body, so it's a good area to test it to make sure it's a good temperature for your little one. So now I'm gonna get into a couple of my tips for pumping. My first tip for pumping is to adjust the suction and speed if you can to find a level that is comfortable for you. So when I first started pumping, I hated it. And I still, to be honest, I'm not a fan of it. I mentioned in one of my recent videos how I kind of feel like a cow when I'm pumping. But when I first started it, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this because it hurts so bad. And then I realized it's because the guide on my breast pump told me to put the suction way higher than what was comfortable for me. I'm gonna put a picture here as an example. So on my breast pump, it shows a certain level to adjust the speed and suction for when you're starting to express your milk, when you wanna start that letdown. And then once milk is flowing, you kind of adjust it a little bit more to keep it going. For me, I just like kind of throw that diagram away and I just adjust it based on what feels comfortable in that moment. And you'll see from this picture that what feels comfortable to me is a lot different from the diagram that it shows. And I'm still able to pump a lot of milk. Like I said, I typically get a few ounces each time. I have no problem expressing milk this way, but it's just what's comfortable for me. And it's what allows me to be able to sit there and get the milk out. Otherwise, I would only be able to take a couple minutes and then I'd have to call it quits. So adjust things to what feels comfortable to you. There's no harm in doing that. You don't have to do it exactly like your pump or your guide may say. My next tip is to pump 1 hour after your first initial morning feeding. So your milk supply is going to be the highest in the morning or those late evening hours. So like 2, 3 a.m., 6 a.m., 5 a.m., around there. First thing during the day is when your milk is going to be the highest. So typically what I'll do is I'll get up, I'll feed him for the first time during the day. He typically wakes up around 6, and then 1 hour later I will pump. One, I'm taking milk during the time of day when I have the most, but two, it's signaling to my body that it needs to continue making that milk. If you can swing it, pumping during the night or during those early morning hours will be great as well, but for me, I'm not trying to wake up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. unless I have to, so I just get up, feed him first thing in the morning, and then an hour later I pump, and then an hour after that he's ready to eat again because he eats every 2 to 3 hours. That is what has really worked for me when it comes to boosting my milk supply. There's a couple other tips I have that I'll cover in this video as far as things you can eat and various things like that, but yeah, pumping 1 hour after his first morning feeding is what has really triggered my body to continue making a lot of milk, and I notice the most difference in my milk supply when I consistently do that. So even on days when I don't feel like it, I have to force myself to pump. I may not get very much, but it's signaling to my body that it needs to make more, and that's what is continuing to keep my milk production at a good level. They also say that if you're bottle feeding your baby, you should be pumping whenever your baby has a bottle, ideally. So if you're going back to work and your baby's gonna have some bottles while he's at daycare or with a babysitter or with your husband, then you should be pumping throughout the day during those times when normally your baby would eat. If your baby's eating every 3 hours, then you should be pumping every 3 hours as well to maintain that milk supply with your body. So right now, since I'm at home with my baby, he will typically have like 1 bottle at night from his dad. We want to make sure that his dad is still feeding him too and that he's able to bond with him in that sense. So he'll have a bottle maybe at nighttime with his dad, and while he's feeding him, I will pump. So on those days when Jordan's giving him a bottle, I end up pumping twice because I'm pumping once in the morning during that first early morning hour, and then I'm pumping once at night when he's getting his bottle. That's just a way to boost your milk supply. If you are fine with your milk supply and you just want to maintain, then you could cut out that early morning feed. Oh, Bubba! Okay, had to take a feeding break, so hopefully it doesn't look too different here. So like I was saying, that's only if you are trying to boost your milk supply. So if you're trying to maintain your milk supply, you could easily cut out that morning pump and only pump when the baby is having bottles, and that will maintain with where you're already at milk supply wise. Also, if you're trying to boost your milk supply, it's a good habit to pump both sides when you're pumping. If you think about it, even if your baby has a bottle later on, you're gonna pull 1 bag from the freezer for that baby to have the bottle, but you're pumping both sides, so you're adding 2 bags to the freezer after that. So you're essentially doubling your supply every time you pump in that sense. So whenever I pump, I always try and do both sides, even if one of them only gets a little bit. You know, I can either combine them at that point, or I could just put 2 bags in the freezer. Sometimes people will also pump one side while they're feeding the other. So say you're feeding your baby from your right side and he's nursing on this side, you could pump from the other side while you're nursing. To me, I'm just not that coordinated. I've tried it before and there's too many, like the flanges and the bottles and the cords and everything. It's just too much for me. I'd rather be able to focus on just nursing my baby. So I tend to pump separately, but if you can make it work for you, I would totally recommend doing that as well. Everybody's different, so you'll find your groove and find what works for you best in that sense. I just personally haven't been coordinated enough to master that one quite yet. The biggest thing though to know is, like I said in my first breastfeeding video, milk supply is based on supply and demand. So the more you pump, the more you feed your baby, the more your body is going to want to make milk to replace that need. So think about it in that sense. You also don't want to over pump. You want to find a really good balance of what you actually need, because if you start to over pump, then you're going to have an oversupply, and then you're constantly going to be like, you know, pumping and then making more and pumping and then making more. Like, you want to find a good groove so that you're not uncomfortable. Another tip for boosting milk supply when pumping is that you can keep pumping for a few minutes after your milk has completely stopped. So you want to completely drain your breasts whenever you're pumping, same way you would if you're feeding your baby. You want to completely drain them so that you're getting every bit of milk you can. And like I said, then signaling back to your body that it needs to make more. But if you're trying to boost your supply, what you can do is continue pumping, keep your breasts on those flanges for a few minutes after the milk has stopped flowing. That will signal to your body that something is trying to get more milk out, so it will know to make even more. So that's something I've started doing. I don't know if it really works for me personally, but I've heard it's a method that people use for boosting milk supply and just getting more milk, is to leave the flanges on their breast for a few minutes after the milk has stopped coming. And I'll just actually look at the pump itself. So when you're pumping and those bottles are filling up, you can see the milk dripping down there, and I'll use that as a guide to see like when the milk is coming, how much is coming, if I still have, you know, if I'm still getting a good amount, or if it seems to be slowing down, or if it's completely stopped. That's when I'll know when to stop pumping. So sometimes I may pump for 10 minutes, sometimes I may pump for 15. It just kind of depends on how much milk I'm getting at that time. Another accessory I wanted to mention, I know I've mentioned this before, but is definitely to get yourself one of these hands-free pumping bras. So I just got this one online. I think I got it at Target. It's by that Latching brand. I know Medela makes them. You know, they make those like actual sports bra looking bras. I just get this little strapless one because it unzips in the front, and then I can just zip it around the front of me. It's really easy to just like pull my nursing bra up and like snap this around me. I just find it convenient. But they actually have little openings in the front, so you can put your pump through it like that and have both sides hooked up to you and still be hands-free. So this is what I use every time I pump. I'll sit down like this and have it hooked up like that on me, so I'm still able to like do other things. I can be on my phone, I can be on my computer, I can have my baby next to me, whatever I'm doing, but then I'm hands-free and I don't have to worry about holding the bottles. It's really difficult to hold bottles or bags when milk is actively pumping into them without spilling, in my experience. So I would definitely recommend getting yourself one of those hands-free pumping bras. You can find them everywhere, but they really come in handy when it comes to a regular pumping routine. I would also advise finding yourself some entertainment. So pumping is boring. With nursing, you spend a lot of your time nursing and breastfeeding as well, but at least you have your baby there. You can like look in their eyes. Even if you don't have your phone or something, it's like more of a connection. With pumping, it's like just you sitting there waiting for the milk to stop flowing. So bring your phone, bring a magazine, a book, something like that. Some form of entertainment just makes it go by way quicker. It has like done a world of wonders for me. I can't just sit there in silence and pump. Like, I can see how it could come as like meditation and like me time to some people. To me, that's not the case. I just kind of let my mind run wild. So I always like to have my phone or something with me to entertain me. So just a little tidbit that should hopefully help you out when you're actually in the act of pumping too. So then last but not least, I figured I would cover a couple foods and things like that that will help boost your milk supply. So first and foremost, oats. Classic plain old-fashioned oats will boost your milk supply. That's why you may see like lactation cookies that have oats in them. Various baked goods, things like that are oftentimes referred to as like lactation goods. Oats are what are in those that is going to boost your milk supply. So what I like to do is just start my day with a bowl of classic oatmeal. I pour oats in a bowl, add some almond milk, and just microwave it because it's super quick and it works for me, and I can actually feel my milk coming in after doing that. I will usually feed my son, and then during that hour when I'm waiting to pump, I'll make some oatmeal, have my oats, pump, and then by the time another hour's passed, he's ready to eat again, and my milk supply isn't affected because I've had that oatmeal and it's helped kind of like kickstart my body. So classic oats, not the instant kind, not your instant Quaker oats, but just classic old-fashioned oats are what's going to boost your milk supply. Additionally, I mentioned that fenugreek is a great herb that can help boost your milk supply. This is the one that I take every day. You'll find various doses and milligrams and things like that. This one is 620 milligrams per capsule, and you can take 2 capsules twice daily with this one that I have. I just take it once in the morning. I take 2 capsules every single morning, and it seems to keep me going. It seems to be a good amount. If I feel like my milk supply isn't as strong that day, I may take a second dose later in the afternoon, but for the most part, I just take it once a day. So I'm just taking 2 capsules once a day. Fenugreek, though, is great for creating more milk and boosting your milk supply. I have heard from people that if you take fenugreek, it can make your underarms smell and get a little bit of like a natural odor going. I haven't experienced that personally, but I've heard from other people that they have, so just something to be aware of too. Another fenugreek product that I've been loving lately are these Upspring Milk Flow breastfeeding supplement milkshakes. So these have fenugreek and blessed thistle in them, and they're just like a little chocolate powder, similar to how you would have like a protein shake or something like that. I actually mix this in with my protein, so when I work out in the morning, I'll follow my workout every day with one of these mixed with my protein, and I'll have a protein shake like that, and that really helps maintain my milk supply as well, if not boost it too. You can get these at Target or I think on Amazon. I'll have them linked down below. This is a chocolate flavor, but they also have like a fruity pink one too that I haven't tried yet, but I do really like these, and I also notice a difference when I have these every day as well. Then just some other foods that can boost your milk supply are eggs, spinach, carrots, flax and chia seeds, also nuts. If you think about nut milk like almond milk or cashew milk, nuts that we use to make man-made milk, those are going to boost your milk supply as well. So cashews, almonds. I would recommend searching on Pinterest or just Googling foods that boost your milk supply. I've learned a ton by doing that. There's a lot of great recipes. Plus I will be following this video with a what I eat in a day to boost my milk supply. That's next in the series too. So you can always watch that video as well. They also say that drinking beer can boost your milk supply. It's not actually the beer that boosts your milk though. It is the wheat that's included as well as the brewer's yeast that's in some beers. So you could also just get brewer's yeast powder to make a milkshake or something like that as well, and that will boost your milk supply as well. There's a couple different teas that you can get as well that are supposed to help your milk supply. So there's a mother's milk tea, which you can get just at your local grocery store or online. I've been drinking some of that and I feel like that helps too. Plus the brand Pink Stork makes a tea called Liquid Gold that is supposed to be great. It's actually on my shopping list for next time I'm at Target. I'm gonna try and pick some up. So I haven't tried it yet. Once I do, I'll let you know, but I've seen reviews and videos and things like that where people say it works wonders too. So you could always grab yourself some of that as well. And then the last thing when it comes to boosting your milk supply is to stay hydrated. If your body's dehydrated, you're not gonna make enough milk. So you wanna make sure you are drinking lots and lots of water. I've talked recently about how fruit infused water has helped me really make sure I'm drinking a lot of water, as well as those metal insulated water bottles, anything that's gonna keep water good and cold and flavored, whatever you need to be drinking a lot of water, do that, because staying hydrated and drinking your daily amount of water plus is what's going to help your milk come in and actively produce. If you go dehydrated, your body's not going to have the nutrients and the water that it needs to produce that milk. So I think that's everything for this pumping video. I feel like I covered a lot. Hopefully it's not too long. We'll see once I'm editing it back. But of course, if you have any questions, leave them in a comment down below. Let me know your pumping tips. Let me know anything else you'd like me to cover. Like I said, next up will be a video about what I eat in a day to support breastfeeding and pumping and milk supply and all that good stuff. But let me know any other videos you'd like to see in this series as well. I will also be coming out with a video just about nursing bras. That's a question I've gotten a lot, and I've been doing some research and finding some great ones, especially for us busty gals. We need some support in that area, so I will be making a video just dedicated to those too, so keep an eye out for that as well. Alright, thank you so much for watching. Good luck on this journey. You got this, and remember, fed is best. So no matter what, fed is best. Do what's best for you, girl. Alright, I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great rest of your day. Bye!